Aloha kakahiaka. Good morning, everyone. I'm Peter Kay, and you are on the Aloha Friday Hawaii show. Today we have I'm really interested with, of course, we're the Lahaina fires and the Maui tragedy is, of course, top of mind for everyone. And so it'll be interesting today. We're going to put a theme of sort of Maui and all Hawaii facing future. Basically, where do we go from here? So we've got a couple of things here. I'm going to go over the lineup. What we got, e komo mai means welcome, welcome. E Como Mai. And so there's going to be chapters in the YouTube. You can kind of click on these chapters after this gets published, and you can kind of go right to a given section, so you can kind of zoom right to it. So we got a news and market update. I got a couple things we want to share about the latest news and things like that that I think are interesting, and whatever you think is interesting as well. A really interesting feature, you can actually see Lahaina for yourself. I'll share what that means in a little while. It's a new development. And frankly, I haven't seen any news about it. So you may just be hearing it here first. Of course, we got your questions that we're going to be handling. We're all about what you want to know. This is really Ask Us Anything. We're going to talk about some diamonds and deals, which are some amazing properties that we got, and we're going to close with some motivational thoughts. All right, but now what we're going to do is we're going to warm up right now, and we're going to warm up with our friends. We have with us here. We have Kelley Fuller, who is replacing for today a temporary replacement of Dylan, because of course, as Kelley knows, no one can replace Dylan, right, Kelley? Dylan cannot be replaced, irreplaceable. But you're a fabulous substitute. So Kelley Fuller is from the Big Island, and we're so glad to have Heidi Dollinger joining us from Maui. We're so glad, Heidi, that you were able to make it. We really so want to hear more about kind of how everything is coming along. So why don't we do this? We are warming up. We're warming up all the microphones. So Heidi, why don't you warm your mic up first? Tell us what's going on. What's the coffee today? How, of course, everyone wants to know, Heidi, how are you doing? How's things? And see, it's almost like a terrible question in and of itself, but we all have to ask, how are you, Heidi? How's the coffee? How are things? Fill us in.
Well, thanks so much for asking. I mean, I'm happy to be here. I think I'm doing as well as I can be, just considering everything. I mean, I live about 4 miles from the Lahaina fire, so even though our place is safe, it's still quite tragic, quite traumatic, and it's just my heart is so heavy for, I mean, so many friends and neighbors, that are just facing a big loss and a big change right now, and, we're just kinda grieving for our community and trying to support everybody the best we can. People are getting into just what they need to do next, to live, like figuring out where to live. I mean, I've been helping people find rentals, where to go, navigating insurance, things like that. So, yeah, just really kind of focusing on the immediate needs and grateful to be safe and here today.
Peter, you're muted.
See, happens to everybody. Me first, the first one, the most guilty. Yeah, Heidi, thank you for sharing. And I think, this is hopefully what we'll talk about more today. Is kind of like how we're moving forward. And it's really, really kind of a remarkable sense. We got a couple of folks over here that are giving a shout out to Jason Sims says, hi, Heidi. Hope you're doing safe and well. Auntie Joan Valentine, love to you, Heidi, and the residents of Maui. Kay Stevens, Stevens or Steffens. Kay Stevens loves Maui as well, and so it's yeah, Heidi. Thanks for it's kind of funny, Heidi. All these years that we've been doing the show, I never really asked you exactly where you live, and so when you said, "Oh my God, you're just a few miles up," your address was Lahaina. It's like, oh, that is remarkable. Sharon says Maui's my healing place. I want to return for a vacation, but only when it'll be good for Native Hawaiians. That's a great topic, Sharon. That is a great topic, a great topic, not without some controversy, but I think it's not becoming quite so controversial. But Kelley, why don't you do the old unmute and fill us in? Kelley Gang is from the Big Island. She is substituting for Dylan for today. What's happening? How are you doing? How's the Big Island today?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to hang out with the Islander Ohana. I've been really blessed to help a bunch of you buy and sell your homes over here on the Big Island. So it's always amazing to reconnect. Things are great over here on Big Island. We are We are just trying to provide support and love over to our Ohana on Maui. My team personally, we had some of our agents that were affected. So we're just trying to give them all the love and support. Our brokerage, eXp Realty, has been really amazing at stepping up, volunteering. We've had a lot of amazing programs be made. So we're all just trying to give our love and be supportive and hopeful for the future. And in terms of the market, are we talking about market right now?
Not yet, but hold that
Okay.
thought. We'll bring up that market in just a moment. Yeah, thanks. Excellent. All right,
Yeah.
why don't we do this? Let's move on because there's a lot. Look, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to have be available and talk about. Why don't I go through and then we'll kind of let's shift this over and let's talk about what the news is coming up and things are. There's some relevant stuff and it's free flowing, right? So why don't we do this? Let's move on and talk about the news. So I got to. A lot of this news, of course, is going to be dominated by Maui sort of things, and definitely, Heidi, I would love to kind of get your take on these things as they come across. So, a couple of things. What I thought was very interesting, there was a big concern. There is a continued concern about the toxic chemicals that are in the resulting of the fire remains. Like a lot of homes had, because they're old homes, asbestos, this and that. So there was a concern. But good news. Good news. Preliminary water testing in the nearshore waters off Lahaina is showing that physical parameters like temperature, pH, salinity, and dissolved oxygen are currently in normal ranges. So it looks like so far there's not been a lot of apparent toxicity in the water, which is good. And almost this is to Sharon. I did not plan it this way. You said you want to return, but only when it'll be good for Native Hawaiians. Well, visitors are urged not to cancel their trips. Maui right now, and Heidi, I want to hear about what you've got boots on the ground. Maui right now is getting economically wiped out by people who are who want to do good, who want to respect everyone, but what people aren't realizing is that everybody else on Maui needs to live. Anyway, tourists were initially urged to stay away from Maui in the immediate wake of a wildfire that killed at least 115 people. But now, 3 weeks after the catastrophe, officials and some residents are urging visitors not to cancel upcoming trips to other parts of the island, saying tourism dollars are needed to keep the locals employed. That's a big deal. I want to definitely hear about that. Another story, sirens will change. Now, this is another one quite interesting. A lot of people have said, well, why didn't the sirens go off, etc.? And we talked about this at the last show. Really quick recap. Sirens in Hawaii are tsunami sirens. And everyone since childhood has been trained. When you hear the tsunami siren, you run for the hills or you go up, if you have a multi-story, like if you live in a condo, go to the top floor. That's what everyone has been taught and grew up with. Well, if the sirens did that during the Maui fires, they would have ran to the hills, which is where the fire started. So there's, again, controversy. But what's going on right now is they're going to be reviewing the emergency protocols. And I think they're going to be coming up with new emergency responses so that when people, it's going to be interesting how they're going to retrain everyone. When you hear the sirens, it means something different than what it used to. And we're going into a return to Lahaina phase. And this is what I want to talk about on the show here, which is like, okay, where do we go? Where do we go forward? So this is becoming a new theme now that the first phase of the recovery has been completed, the searching and rescuing. Now that that's done, the return to Lahaina is going on. Another big controversy, more controversy here. The Hawaiian HECO, which is the Hawaiian Electric Company, they have been blamed that downed poles started fires. They put out a really comprehensive refute of that, and where they cataloged hour by hour what things occurred. And so they basically had said, look, we by the something to the effect of this. The first, early in the morning, yes, there was a down power pole. Yes, it did start a fire, but that was contained as reported by the fire department. We then did shut down all the power. So hours later, when the power was out, hours after the power was turned off, many hours later, were the big fires. So there's going to be a lot of controversy about this. And finally, lawsuits. A lot of lawsuits coming on now. So, of course, Maui County sued Hawaiian Electric. Investors are suing Hawaiian Electric. Families are filing lawsuits for wrongful deaths against Hawaiian Electric. It's a lot. And then finally, I really wasn't kind of paying attention to all the controversies, all the conspiracy theories, but a couple of them popped up into the YouTube channel as comments. Some people think that microwaves are causing the fires. I don't think it was microwaves. Microwaves from space. Microwaves from space satellites. I don't think it was microwaves from space satellites, folks. I don't think that was it. Why don't we kind of go get a news roundup? Heidi, what's the what's the feeling? What's the vibe like these days? What's kind of happening? I've had so many different reports of kind of various things, really soulful things where everybody is pitching in to help each other, but of course horrific things as well. How would you characterize the vibe on Maui, Heidi? Kind of what's going on?
People are, well, I live in West Maui, so I mean, there are no visitors, virtually no visitors. It feels a little reminiscent of COVID when everything shut down, and um, most businesses are shutting down because they're supported by tourism. A lot of people are going on unemployment. So, I mean, that's really similar to COVID, but it's even scarier because during COVID, I mean, there was all kinds of assistance, and it's just people are kind of unsure what's going to happen. And then all the people, I mean, there's thousands of people in Lahaina that lost their homes and are displaced, and many of them are living in hotels right now or in Airbnbs, but it's very uncertain how long they're going to be able to stay there. Like, people need rentals for a year or a couple years or 3 years. Um, some of the situations that people are in right now are kind of temporary. So it's just this kind of weird time, and people that own vacation properties are wondering what's going to happen. I mean, the governor has put out a recommendation that there's only essential travel to West Maui until October 17th. So we're pretty much figuring not much is going to be happening there business wise, tourism wise. I know they are encouraging visitors to go to the other areas of Maui. I mean, there's Maui's so much of Maui is open, it's beautiful, it's not impacted by the fires. The actual area that burned in Lahaina, I mean, it's relatively small compared to other huge wildfires like in California or overseas, but it's really impactful for our immediate area. And there was actually another fire on Saturday night where they evacuated Kaanapali, and about 10 acres burned, and they put it out. No structures were impacted. But everybody's just really on edge because we still have windy, dry weather. I mean, there's not a hurricane passing through, but really strong, dry winds, and that's the exact same conditions that led to the Lahaina fire. So, I mean, people are just kind of really uneasy right now. Um, anyway, what else do you want to know, Pete? I mean, there's so much to talk about.
There's so much to talk about. Yeah, well, here, like, I would like to have, let's let everybody who's watching, what would you like to know? Sort of ask us anything. What kind of things would you want to share about what you'd like to kind of find out about it? I have a couple of comments I want to catch up on. Sharon is praying for all of us. Thank you, Sharon. Patricia loves Maui, and Jason, Maui is begging for visitors right now. Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's going to be there's a bunch of issues that West Maui is going to be facing, Heidi. I was talking with some people in the business community the other day, and yeah, there's a lot there. We don't want to go down there. And thanks, Michael. Glad to have you here. Aloha from San Diego. And as gang, if you haven't noticed, Ashley has joined us. Welcome, Ashley, on Oahu. Good to see you. Glad you made it in. Why don't you give us the update on where you're hanging, Ashley? How's Oahu doing? What are you doing? How are you feeling? What's happening?
Well, yeah, Heidi, mentioned we have really high winds. So they, knocked down our power last night, and I had some technical issues. The old computer gal didn't want to turn on today for me. So, yeah, the wind it's nice because it's been really hot and is really dry. Even here on Oahu, this is the season for some fires and everything. But yeah, clients, everyone's on edge just to, even here, like I'm going live with the listing on a vacant lot, and there's some cane grass, and it's on the west side, which is the dry side of the Hawaiian chain. Typically, the west side of the island is more hot and dry, and the east side is more wet and tropical. And they're like, should we cut the grass? What does the neighbors look like? They just don't want, that to happen to them. So just things that they never thought about or discussed. And I had this on market last year. So I'd say the feelings are still there. I think everyone is, aware and hyper conscious at the moment of the people and of the Aina. But it's beautiful here on Oahu, and I personally love hot weather. So I know we're coming into the winter months. I can tell because it's raining a little bit more in the mornings and in the evenings, and we're about to get into our winter. So I already see some people hanging up little Halloween things down the street, little eyeballs hanging out of trees and stuff. So kind of getting excited because I'm one of those, holiday moms that decorate the house and decorate everything, and I get all into it. So I'm excited. I feel like holidays are around the corner. Where's my pumpkin latte?
The pumpkin spice latte it is pumpkin spice latte season, if I'm not mistaken. That's already started. Yes, I did notice it is getting wetter. I have the first few rains, like last night with the first big sort of nighttime shower, and of course the morning what they call mauka showers, rain that comes in from the ocean over the mountains, mauka showers. There people are skittish. Kelley, give us any kind of news or things you want to share from the Banyan. We'll talk about the market in just a minute, but any kind of other news you want to share about what's happening on the Big Island? Skittishness, and you guys are getting that too. I noticed for the first time I'm getting warning alerts, red flag fire alerts on my phone. Never had those before, right, Ash? Never had those before. Never had red flag fire alerts ever on my phone. I'm getting them now. Kelley, what's happening on the Big Island? Any news you want to share or any updates of related to really anything other than markets? We'll talk about markets in a minute.
It just reminds me so much of when the volcano went off back in 2018, when in the media and the news, it goes off that the volcano's happening and everyone on the mainland is thinking that the whole island is covered in lava. And really, that's not the case, right? It's only just a small portion of the Big Island that was getting the lava. So it just reminds me so much of this Maui. Although it's, everyone's hurting on Maui, it's really just a fraction of it that is not able to go to. So really, we need to still continue to pour into their economy to the other areas. And it just reminds me so much of how it was over here. We had people canceling trips and everyone thought the whole island was on fire and the volcano. And it's just interesting how the media portrays it and how it comes across. And really when it's only just a small portion of the whole island, because these islands are big. The Big Island is very large. From where the 2018 eruption happened, that's about 2-hour drive from Kona, which is our city. So it's a big island.
Hence its name. Jason's got a question for you. Jason says, we were in Lahaina and got evacuated and sent to Oahu. Is power and cell back on in the area? My heart breaks for all of the people in Lahaina. Well, Jason, first of all, I'm glad that you folks were evacuated safely. Thank goodness. Heidi, what's it like? What's the power and cell service like around in the area?
Yeah, I mean, most of the areas, outside of Lahaina, like where I live, our power was just out for 5 days. Cell service was pretty bad for a couple weeks, and internet just came on recently, internet and cable. Now, right in Lahaina town, really close to the areas that burned, there's still, there's some condo complexes where a couple buildings burnt down, but there's still some areas standing. But a lot of those homes that are so close to where the fire came through, those people can't return to their homes because the water is not safe. They're potentially inhaling toxins from everything that burned. So there's some people who their homes are still standing, but they can't return there just yet. And I know there still are some areas without power, but for the most part, power, internet, cell service, that's all restored now. and anyway, I'm super glad that you're safe. Wow, that's great to hear. How scary.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Hey, I want to kind of share with everybody what I mentioned earlier, which is that Google, you can now view Lahaina yourself. Because the Google Maps. So check this out, everybody. So Google Maps has updated. If you literally just go to Google Maps and you search for Lahaina, you can actually go in and this is we're looking at a Google map, of course, right now, a live one, and you could really see these are all really unbelievable, quite remarkable. You can look at everything in pretty scary detail. You can see over here. And in fact, let's go to where the famous banyan tree is. Yeah, right here. So this is the banyan tree that everybody is praying for to survive. Like you can see how huge this structure was, but really it's really a remarkable a collection of pictures. It kind of pains me to kind of show this, but it is here. And so if you want to see these things for yourself, you can see the unbelievable devastation that is leveled across this entire area and how everything was burned. And thankfully, Heidi, you were sort of in the upper area or somewhere here, but it is just remarkable. You can go through all this and see it's kind of incredible. And I don't mean to kind of relive any kind of stories here, Heidi, but just want to tell everybody that, you can now go through this yourself and you can kind of see the things that had occurred. And it's really an unbelievable feature. Why don't we do this? Let's move on. I do want to hear, let's get a market update here. I do want to kind of see or hear about, I am curious, let me get my right slides over here. I am curious, Heidi, about what is the market like in terms of I mean, there's all kinds of things that are going to be happening here. Wrong one. All kinds of things that are going to be happening. I would do want to hear about, and I know you're not, you've been in the real estate industry forever over there, and I don't know how what even the talk is, but boy, I got to believe the disruption to the market has been absolutely off the charts. There are thousands and thousands of homes that are now gone, and Maui had a super tight market to begin with. What's the talk, Heidi, of how they're going to? Is there any talk? Have you heard anything about how people are going to recover with housing in Maui? Where's that going to go?
Yeah, that's the big question right now. About 2,000 homes burned and all these people are displaced. So, that's something that's going to need to be worked through. The other major issue is, Lahaina is such a culturally significant and historically significant place. Um, I think that there's definitely going to be a lot of discussion, as there should be, of when it's rebuilt in the future, what exactly is going to be built there. And it's really a hope that it's something the Hawaiian people and the Hawaiian culture will be, recognized and preserved. There's a lot of fear by local people that developers are just going to come in and, start building all these buildings, but then there's also a fear of where is everybody going to live and how quickly are things going to be rebuilt. There's probably going to be different guidelines of making buildings more fireproof in the future. That's just going to add to the building code process. So, my best guess is that it's going to be many years until that Lahaina is rebuilt right now. So that's just kind of the fear, like what's going to happen in the next 3 years, like where are all these people going to live? And I'm not saying it's 3 years, it could be longer. What's happening right now is the EPA is going in and removing toxic waste and making sure it's safe. And then they're going to let people go back to their lots, to their businesses, look through the ashes. From what I've heard, there's really not much there. Safes melted down, water heaters melted down, ovens melted down. There's not much there, but they will let people go back and look at their lots again. And then eventually they're going to have to clear that away. And, I don't know when rebuilding is, but.
It's going to be an absolutely remarkable process. I mean, it's going to take years. Got a quick question over here from I don't know if it's a quick question, but we have a question from Barbara. Welcome back, Barbara. What happens to homeowners who lost property on leased land, and does this complicate insurance claims? That's a really good question. We'll kind of hold that one open. Why don't we kind of let's bring in everybody else to talk about the market conditions. It's going to be interesting to kind of see. There's all kinds of issues, right? And it's just at the very beginning. But I'm wondering now, this whole, basically several thousand homes have been taken off the market in Hawaii. The economic impact is going to be massive. How many visitors are going to start making their vacations to other islands? Not because they don't want to support Maui, but because there won't be rooms available in Maui, right? A huge part West Maui, right, Heidi? I mean, what's the number? Like, West Maui accounts for 70% of the visitor industry in Maui. And the whole industry the workers were located in Lahaina. That's where the workers lived. So that whole impact is going to be remarkable. Let's move on. Kelley, why don't you give us a quick update? What do you want to share about the Big Island? Here's your Big Island market update moment. What do you want to share about that? What's going on? Has the market been affected yet? Have you been hearing anything? Is there any rumblings, or what's been happening on with the real estate market on the Big Island, Kelley?
Yeah, we've definitely seen some relocation happening from the Lahaina area. And where I'm really seeing it most trickle in so far is really in our rental market. I do a lot in the Kailua Kona area, and I'm helping some first-time home buyers into the market. And in the meantime, they're looking for rentals. And it's a very, very scarce rental market in Kailua Kona. It's very expensive. And we already had that problem since the beginning of the year and onward with when the rents decided to go up. But now we're seeing even a more influx of renters coming. So that's really been where I've been seeing it the fastest is a lot more of the rentals have a lot more competition now in the Kailua Kona area. And in terms of on the Big Island and single family homes, we really are in low inventory over here. And if you're looking at the market data back in July, so we get our market data a month later. So if we're looking at the July data, I mean, July of this year, 23, we had 154 single family homes sell. If you look back in the 21, which was at the heat of the market, we had 251 single family homes. So that was about 100 more that sold back in the heat of the market. And then if you go back even further, before pre-COVID, we had 217. So that's still 70 more single family homes that sold then that are selling now. So we have a lot more renters coming to the market. We have low inventory for single family homes. And that's really kind of driving up the prices right now for the rentals and for the single family homes. So that's where I'm really seeing the pressure.
There's going to be quite interesting to kind of see where these pressures continue. By the way, you have a shout out, Kelley, from another Kelley from Kelley Hobby. So yeah, you guys are buds, which is kind of fun to kind of see that. Kelley Hobby is a member of the Islander Ohana and living on the Big Island, which is kind of cool. Ashley, what do you want to share about what's going on with Oahu's market? Are you seeing any kind of changes immediately out of the Maui side? Is anything being affected? And otherwise, what do the numbers look like right now on Oahu?
I think the same. So a lot of the residents in Lahaina were local families. So what I'm hearing and seeing a lot of is that there's homeowners who are giving notice to their existing tenants to relocate their Lahaina family members or friends. So we're seeing, a bottleneck there where regardless, we're having an influx of some Maui residents as well. Again, more, I think, affecting our rental market than anything else right now, because people, I think, are hopeful that they're going to be able to rebuild or just figure out their plans. For overall, though, I wouldn't say that that's, changing our landscape here in real estate as a whole. We have going into the September market. Typically, I think with most markets, the holiday market usually is slower. We have an influx of tourism that are on vacation for holiday, but our actual sales and inventory decreases. I think people just get a bit more distracted with the holiday season. and get prepared and sort of shift their mindset. So September tends to be our last really great month of the season or the year. Not to say sales don't continue, right? Oahu is a very transient island. You always have people coming and going internationally and locally. It's going to still keep moving and hopping. So for our sales prices, we did see an increase for single family and condos overall this last month of August. We don't have the official data yet, but we can see it. It's gone up 2%. Still lower than March this year, but higher than January and February for sure. We're seeing the closed sales go down, which just means that there is still a lack of inventory. Our days on market are starting to go back up again. So buyers still get to be a little picky. Just for perspective, for an entire island, which hosts a majority of the population of the Hawaiian chain, right now actively on the market for single family homes, there's only 631 homes for sale on the island at this very moment. That's not a lot of inventory for single family. Condos, there's a bit more. There's 1,072. But I think that that's going to and has always been the case. So it's a great stabilizer. I wouldn't say great stabilizer, but it's a consistency for the island, lack of housing.
So how does that compare, the 600 that you mentioned, the inventory, how does that compare to how does that compare to historical numbers, like year or two, or like pre-COVID numbers, as kind of as our gauge, just so I can get a sense of how much of a change has happened, give or take, if you know.
So in 2020, for example, like before COVID really happened, January, there was 1,044 single family homes. In March of 2020, again, before everything happened and there was a huge decline, there was 1,096. And then from there, it went down to September 2020, 722 single family homes. And we're just talking single family, not condos. Right. December 2020, it was down to 586. And the lowest point of housing available was December 2021 with 434 single family. Then from December 2021, you had a steady incline, and it peaked all the way until November 2022 with a high of 834 sales. So it's gone down since then. We just had a small uptick in June, but we're 674, which historically is that's low. Again, pre-COVID was over 1,000.
Right. So you're 40%, at least you're a 40% drop in the market. Interesting. Okay. Let's move on to our next topic over here. And really what we've sort of been talking about this in the beginning, but let's just kind of focus on this now, which is, what is the way forward for everyone? How do we move forward out of all this? So Heidi, back onto you. Well, first of all, I want to see, does anybody want to take Barbara's question about what happens? So let's leave the Maui side all out for a moment. Let's just say that you're on leased, you have a home on leased land, and presumably you have fire insurance on the home. What happens if what happens with the property on leased land? Does it complicate insurance, or is it just another insurance claim, assuming you have fire insurance? How does that work? Heidi, why don't you take this one first, and then Ashley, and then Kelley, if you guys want to chime in.
Yeah, that's a great question. Most of the leasehold properties in West Maui are condominiums, so it wouldn't really be that much different than a regular condominium. You'd have insurance for the interior contents of your property, and you can get insurance money. But the question is if it takes a few years to rebuild, you're kind of losing that time on the lease because it just keeps on going. So I think that you would just lose that time. But these type of questions are, all leasehold properties aren't exactly the same. And you really want to look at your leasehold documents and consult an attorney. I haven't dealt with this specifically, but it's a great question.
So a lot of it depends on what the lease agreement says as well. So it's a combination of your lease agreement and your insurance. Ashley or Kelley, you guys have anything you want to add to this?
No,
Okay.
I think that the insurance company is going to be probably the largest factor. And then what does the fee holder's insurance look like as well? I do know, and honestly, I don't know of any situations, but I do know that some people are concerned of, the state taking back some of the land or taking over the land. I'm not sure if that's of actual concern. I think it's too early to tell, but yeah, eminent domain is also, I think, a factor potentially in the future, a
Always
future
a,
discussion
always a
point.
factor. It's always a factor.
Yeah, I
Kelly, is
mean,
there
I
anything?
think like right along the ocean too. I mean, many properties in Lahaina were built right on the ocean, and the new setback laws don't allow you to build so close to the ocean. So we're not sure what's going to happen. And also, some of the streets right in Lahaina town were very narrow, and we don't know if a new plan for the town is going to require streets to be widened, or I mean, there could possibly be some changes to boundaries of properties. And also, if they decide to bury the utility lines in the future, there could be new easements. So anyway, there's a lot more questions than answers right now.
Yeah, a lot more questions than answers is the thing. So let's bring this back again over here. It's like
I had one
where
question,
do we
sorry,
see? Go
for
ahead.
Heidi. What's
Go
your
ahead.
shoreline setback on Maui? I know on Oahu it's now 40 feet.
Yeah, I mean, it's much farther back than what most of the homes were built along the ocean there. And there's some lots where if you were going by the new setback laws, I mean, I don't think you'd even be able to build a house. I mean, so that's a question. But um, the to my understanding, and I mean, this is more of a legal question, but if your home is destroyed by the ocean, you couldn't rebuild it. But I don't know what they're going to say about being destroyed by fire. I mean, whatever they rebuild, I'm sure there's gonna be an effort to make sure that it's built for the future. So it's just gonna be really interesting to see what happens. And yeah, I mean, there's so many questions right now.
And that is the big question, right? What is going to be the way forward, right? How do we what is sort of what are the issues? What are the issues that we all see or can conceive of that are going to be, factors in the way forward? Like I said last week, I mean at our last show, I said that, this was a 9/11 level event, meaning 9/11 it's completely changing everything. There's going to be a collection of huge changes kind of happening with Hawaii, with Maui. We've already seen it. It's already changed right now. It's already changed with the fire alerts right off the bat. Everyone's all skittish. Everyone's kind of like fire. There's like I've never seen so many sort of fire alerts or fire kind of emergency messages. That's one, and that's a minor thing. But what do we see going forward? Heidi, you mentioned it's going to be. I don't I don't see it. I don't see things happening in. I don't see Lahaina is years away. Years away. If that. 5 years. And certainly, by the time you kind of clean everything, by the time you clean everything up, by the time you get everything, at least even clean it to where it could be rebuilt. Where are all the people going to stay? Where are all these displaced folks going to live? How is, you're not going to have traffic going through. I don't see Lahaina, for example, opening up significantly for traffic to kind of flow into West Maui significantly anytime soon. That's 70% of the visitor industry. How are homes going to be rebuilt? All of that stuff. What is going to be the way forward? I mean, the setback issue, right, Heidi? What's going to happen with all? There's so many decisions, and I see so many people that are playing into this, that are going to want to have necessarily, understandably, want to have their say into what goes on. Any sense of that? I mean, anybody wants to kind of chime in here, but Heidi, any sense of kind of what this way forward even begins to look like? What's sort of like the vibe on the ground of kind of where these things are at? Do you have any sense?
Well, I mean, it's still for the West Maui community and people in Lahaina. I mean, I know this was a few weeks ago, but I mean, it's still pretty early. Um, as I mentioned, people are going through their grieving process. The more immediate question is, what is it gonna be like in the rest of West Maui? Because there's the neighborhoods of Kaanapali, Napili, Honokawai, Kahana, Kapalua. Actually, most of the resorts and hotels are located in these other neighborhoods north of Lahaina. They've been untouched by fire, but how does the county and state, I mean, support these communities and how do they reopen? Because I mean, Kanapali and Kapalua, I mean, they can open up later this year and bring in visitors. I mean, I think Lahaina town, that's going to be a longer process, but travelers in the future should be able to go to these other places. Um, it's just more about housing people in the area. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm, like with housing people in the area, for example, Heidi, it's like, okay, a lot of a huge part of the workers that worked in Kapalua and in Kaanapali, lived in the Lahaina area. They don't have homes now. They're going to have to A, live somewhere, and B, if they're going to have their jobs back, they're going to commute in, which the commuting thing is going to be, many, many times worse. How's that all going to fly? Huge amounts of cars and vehicles, that kind of traffic is like, and then the other part that I'm really not even sure about as well is like, the devastation around Lahaina is nothing trivial. Well, I mean, I can't even imagine it, right? I can't imagine. Heidi, I had a friend of mine who drove, who came to visit, who came to see, because they have friends and family and businesses there. And he told me that as he was kind of driving up to it, he had to pull over. He was overwhelmed by the situation. He couldn't emotionally. He had to pull over and stop. He couldn't kind of drive all the way through. So I don't think how conducive this is going to be to a visitor industry. We had a couple of comments over here. First, I want to kind of Layla. Glad you are doing this. Hope you keep these forums on Maui. Please, today is a worldwide day of prayer for Maui. Thank you for bringing that up. I failed to mention that there's a bunch of live streams that were going on today of prayers. Native Hawaiians had sunrise prayers on Maui. It was really cool, actually. The way forward is integration of so many elements as in any other major disaster. Yeah, exactly. Kelley's got a question. I wonder if they will finish the north route to West Maui, the off-road part. Kelley, I looked at that. That's another road to Hana, man. That's like a road to Hana in reverse. That's going to be, I don't know. Ashley, anything that you're hearing? You've got your ear on a lot of things going on over there. Anything you want to share, or Kelley, any kind of vibe that you guys are getting, or what are you hearing, or what have you heard about kind of where is this going to go forward? How's this all going to work?
No, I think there's a lot of conspiracy, and
of course,
I think that Heidi said it best without going down any of those rabbit holes.
Yeah, lots of rebel. Kelley, is there anything you want to add to that?
Same. I'm just seeing what we are seeing in the news and in social media, and it's just best to connect with those resources that are very valid resources and give monetary donations to families that were affected. So that's kind of how I'm doing my part, is just to support and make sure I'm getting the correct information from correct resources and not feeding into those conspiracies.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of it, and it ain't gonna end anytime soon, unfortunately. And then there's all kinds of, not to mention all the controversies and the lawsuits and everything. There's a lot of rebuilding. But Heidi, I'm still sensing that, of course, there's still so much overwhelming issues that people are just kind of dealing, as you mentioned, with the day to day. Can you talk a little bit, Heidi, about what's the day to day kind of feeling? What is that vibe like? It seems that very much of, let's just get through one day at a time here. We're not even prepared to talk about rebuilding in a sense. We're really kind of just trying to kind of get through tomorrow and kind of see how that's all going to fly. How are you dealing with that?
I mean, there's people that are fearful, on edge. There's people that are angry, understandably. I mean, angry that wishing this never happened, wishing somebody could have prevented this, or kept their family safe, or kept their town safe. I mean, it's really overwhelming too, personally. I mean, just knowing so many people. And I didn't grow up in Lahaina, but I cannot imagine living there your whole life, and your parents living there, your grandparents, and then families just losing everything. I mean, it's really overwhelming. And I do understand why people are angry right now. I mean, I don't think anger is the answer, and I'm not into the conspiracy theories. I mean, there's a lot of, like, terrible things going around, but yeah, it's gonna be a long process. I think there is gonna be a lot of change, so some people that are living on Maui now that maybe don't have strong roots in the community, maybe they'll decide to move somewhere else. Um, as far as, I've been trying to find long-term rentals for people, and we're finding some people who live in West Maui are wanting to get out of their long-term rental and move somewhere else just because they don't wanna be there, so we've been able to make some matches that way and help some people find rentals. So, there will be some people that will leave, and then there'll be opportunities for other people. We do have a lot of hotel space and Airbnb short-term rental properties, but it's like, how do those get properly allocated where everybody who needs a home can get a home and that it's at an affordable rate too? So anyway, that
I think a big part of this is that, as you were saying, Heidi, and you're so right about it. People, of course, are understandably, angry, sad. There's a whole gamut of emotions. Except no one's glad, but there's a whole range of emotions that are kind of flying around over here, and I think it's just hard to, like with a lot of these things, you know, the investigations are sort of underway. The facts are kind of slowly coming out. I hope. I don't, we don't know where the narrative, where the narrative of truth is going to lie yet. I think those things are still being uncovered. I pray that we'll have the facts present themselves, and then people could make their own decisions and judgments as far as what occurred. That's certainly the way I feel about it. Um, I think what's I think what's interesting about this is that when these kinds of disasters occur, we have a hard time accepting the fact that the possibility, we don't know if it's a fact yet. Gotta watch my words over here. The possibility that it just happened. It just happened. It was a crazy set of circumstances, the winds and the dryness and the this and the that, a series of events. You can't really point to any one individual or any one organization or any one person or any one thing. It was just a series of events that, incredibly unfortunate events that kind of strung themselves together and resulted in this incredibly terrible disaster. And the questions of why comes up, and it's really hard to accept that it kind of just happened. It just happened. It wasn't the work of anything that was nefarious or planned or whatnot. And that's rough. Hey, really quick, I want to do this really fast. So if you've got any questions, we're rounding around. We're coming towards the tail end of the show here. We got about 15 minutes left or so. Well, actually 18 minutes left. If you have any questions for anybody on anything, ask us anything. Please pop it in the comments, and we'll please keep it relevant, but pop it in the comments, and we'll do our best to kind of handle those questions. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing. I'm not too going to kind of see where this goes, how this whole thing evolves. I'm hoping, Heidi, that yeah, I'm just hoping that all the voices kind of, it's going to be, I'm going to say it first, and I'm saying it's hard. All the voices come together and come up with some sort of a unified vision. I do hope there is some collection of ideas emerges out of this as a collection of ideas that everybody can unify behind. That would be good. Actually, Heidi, what popped in my head is there any update on I should have done a search for this. Is there any update on the banyan tree? I see that as a potentially unifying symbol. Is the banyan tree still alive? Is it moving forward? I heard positive stories, but I haven't checked I haven't heard anything for a while about the banyan tree. I don't know if you've heard anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've only read a news article about it. I mean, we can't go over there personally and check out the banyan tree, but I did read a news article about it that it looks like it's alive underneath, and it's sprouting some new roots. So that is really a great sign, and I mean, it's an amazing symbol of hope. I mean, that tree is over 150 years old, this huge tree right in the center of town. I mean, we'd have events under it, art exhibitions, celebrate holidays there. I mean, it's really part of the town, so I mean, I think it would be amazing if they could save it, and I know they've been watering it, and I mean, you can see that huge black area on the overhead view of Lahaina, like that's all its branches all burned right there. But yeah, what a powerful symbol of hope. I hope they can save the banyan tree for the new Lahaina.
You could not, I could not have said it better myself, Heidi. I think that is exactly right. In fact, I'm trying to pull this up again because it was really, you don't really realize how ginormous that banyan tree is. And I'm kind of here. Let me show you all what I'm looking for over here. You don't really realize. Put everybody to the side here. Put you guys over the ocean. You don't really realize how I never really knew, how big that, because it's been a long time since I've been in Lahaina, and I'm trying to find it now. That thing is monstrous. It is a huge. Oh, here it is. So it's like, look at this thing. Here it is. This thing is like a full like city block. And the entire thing is the tree. That is a remarkable shot, right? This monstrous thing. I think it's one of the oldest trees or the largest trees in America is, and the fact if this survives, if it is truly actually Heidi, now that you mentioned it, right, an inspirational story, right? If the largest living entity in Lahaina survives, right? What an incredible symbol of life and survival and rebirth. To think, right, this amazing living thing, this amazing tree has made it, is really a cool thought, a really cool thought. We got a couple of comments over here. I want to kind of, again, folks, get us your questions in. Auntie Joan, I agree with you, Peter. Unfortunately, Monday morning quarterbacks always muddy the waters. Joan, everyone wants to find something or someone to blame, right? We all want to, we want to make sense of this, right? We want to make sense of this, and in that desire to make sense, we find the people that we think are responsible. Layla, Maui, a unified vision. Yeah, wouldn't that be great? I would love to, I hope it will come out. And I think, Heidi, you mentioned the native Hawaiian. I think, boy, I think all of us want to see look, we are here in Hawaii because we love Hawaii. It means we love the host culture. We love the native culture. We love the Hawaiian way. We love the Hawaiian values. So that has to be one of the foundational pieces that comes out. And I'm sure everyone kind of feels that way. So thank you, Layla, for that great comment. All right. Why don't we move on? And again, if you guys have any other comments you want to add, let's go ahead and add it. We're going to talk about part of this is like, we do want to move forward. We have to move on. Maui's economy needs help. Maui's economy is really in a bad place right now. They're pleading for people to visit Maui. You don't have to go to West Maui. There's lots of other places right now that are open. Maui is kind of like empty. It's like Heidi mentioned, I think you mentioned this, Heidi. It's kind of like COVID, except there's no federal funding for everybody who's not working. There's no federal funding for all the businesses that are closed. These people are closed and they've got nothing. So part of this is moving on. And Heidi, I'm kind of wondering also well, you're very busy apparently with long-term rentals, which is great. Why don't we do this? Let's talk about this property here. This is your property, Heidi, I believe. Why don't we kind of do that and tell us what we're looking at. Let's take a look at some beautiful Maui properties.
Yeah, so I chose this property. This is in East Maui, which is far on the other side of the island. It gets a lot of rainfall here, so everything's nice and green. This is out in Hana, which is very remote. It's on 4.6 acres. There is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home with ocean and mountain views. There's also a 2-bedroom, 1-bath cottage that has its own private driveway, separate entrance. And you're really close to Homoa Bay, this beautiful beach out in Hana, and just a couple minutes to Hana town, and you're on agricultural land out in Hana Agricultural Park. It's listed at $175.
I don't know about you guys, but whenever I think of Hana, I just think of like the most dreamiest, most amazing, most incredible place that I've ever been to in my life to this day. I mean, it's just an amazing spot. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, it's a 2-bedroom condo, 4 acres. right by Oprah Winfrey somewhere. Thanks, Heidi. That's a good one. Let's. What about this one? This is Hawaii Lower Ridge. This is your property, Ashley. Why don't you fill us in? What have we got here? What are we looking at?
Well, we got a cut off image to the left. I apologize for that.
That's all right. All good.
It showed that was in view. So this is 779 Waniala Street. It's a 4-bedroom, 4-bath. This is Hawaii Lower Ridge. It's a gated community. They check your ID to drive up there. There's a lot of high profile individuals who live on this ridge for that security in particular. They have this property. We just went on market a week ago, and it's got 180-degree views from Diamond Head to Portlock. That's Portlock right there in the view on this photo. It's a beautifully renovated home, and there's extremely limited inventory on this ridge. And I, biasly state that it is the superior one currently available. It's got a great layout, and it's got really great breezes. It's listed at 3.95 million.
I was going to say for 950,000, it's a deal. Sign me up. So no, there's a 3 missing off the end. There's 3.95. Yeah, that's an incredible area. The views of that whole place are just absolutely remarkable, stunning. The most stunning ocean views, I think, anywhere on Oahu, as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm.
Nothing beats Hawaii Lower Ridge. Yeah, crazy, cool. Thank you, Ashley. What do we got here, Kelley? Fill us in on what we're looking at here.
Awesome. So, in life, you don't always get second chances. Well, today you do, because this beautiful property is back on market. This is at no fault to the sellers, but it's a 3-bed, 3-bath, and it's on 5 acres. And it's located in Captain Cook, which is South Kona, about probably 45-minute drive into Kailua Kona approximately. And it is actually a certified avocado farm. So you have avocados, tons of fruit trees, lychee, mango. They actually have some livestock on the property as well. And you can see in this photo here, the back house is your 3-bed, 3-bath, but it also has a ohana, which you can see down in the bottom right here. And it is an active STVR. It comes completely furnished and with future bookings. So this is really a South Kona farmer's dream, this property. And it's listed at 1.199.
And so if you want to if you want to do some simple farming, avocados certainly, and then have that STVR, by the way, stands for short-term vacation rental, an STVR on the property with future bookings. Seems like a good one to me. Excellent. All right. Yeah, thank you all. That was those are some good overviews. I'm still dreaming of the Hana property there, Heidi. Excellent. So, hey, gang, we're gonna kind of wind this one up over here, and we're gonna start to close up with our motivational thoughts. And so, why don't we let's see? Barbara's got a comment. It's so heartbreaking to see the suffering there in Maui. I hope the federal help gets there soon. Some there is an appropriate assistance. I think the federal help is there. I think this is a much longer. I think the immediate help is there. That people are getting that kind of aid. I think it's more switching. I would think, Heidi, it's kind of switching more into a long-term, where do we go from here kind of a thing. I believe. Heidi, what's your take on that? Oh, you're muted, Heidi. Sorry.
Yeah, there is a lot of help pouring in. I mean, there's FEMA is there, the Red Cross. I mean, there's multiple Maui Strong, Hawaii Community Foundation. I mean, there's lots of people pulling together to help each other. And it seems like, I don't know everybody's personal situation, but there's a lot of resources for getting immediate needs met. The bigger questions that we've been discussing today are, what happens in a year, 2 years, 3 years? Those are big questions. And also Oprah is donating 10 million. There's a lot of funds coming together to support the people of Maui. So it's just, what's next?
That's it. And that was the theme of the show, right, Heidi? I mean, what's next? Where do we go from here? How does this all work? it is really going to be, it is really going to be something to watch. It's going to, I think, if I could riff on this just for a moment, I think it's going to really kind of bring up a lot of, it's going to really expose is not quite illuminate. Illuminate is the better word. I think, Heidi, it's going to illuminate a lot of the competing ideas and the competing factions, if you will, for kind of where we go forward. You're going to have all kinds of groups. Clearly, there's the Native Hawaiian groups, there is the environmental groups, there's the business groups, there's the development groups, there's the government groups. There's going to be all kinds of kind of groups kind of vying for, not to say control, but kind of vying for the largest voice. And it'll be very interesting to kind of see how this kind of comes about and how this evolves. I don't have any idea where it's all going to go. I just know that there's going to be a lot kind of flying around. Kelley Hobby has saying that she's donating her designs to fundraise to the cause. Kelley, I should have thought about this earlier, Kelley, to show off. You did a really cool thing about you did a beautiful design on the banyan tree. I wish I would have had it here to share on the show. It is really cool. But Kelley is a very, very talented artist, and she's done some great designs that she's donating for the cause. So thank you for that. Excellent. Anybody want to say anything before we move on to our sort of our closing thoughts? All right, so we have a closing. We do closing motivational thoughts. I like to try to end the show on a positive note, things that inspire us and inspire you. If you've got something that you'd like to share that's of an inspirational nature, please pop it in the comments so I could share it with everyone else. We get a lot of great quotes from all the time. So why don't we start with yours, Ashley? What's your thought for today, and what does it mean to you? You're muted. Sorry.
This is one, if you can just write sticky notes and lay them around your house everywhere. This is a go-to chant for myself. Seek first to understand. What is that saying? You have 2 ears to listen, one mouth to speak for a reason. When you're hearing someone and you're having conversation, I think we're so quick to just say or think we understand what they're thinking and speak over them, or just immediately have our own thoughts or judgments around it. And when you're hearing someone, just understand their perspective, even if you don't agree with it, just hearing it, understanding it, and then not having to say something in return, I think is really powerful to a building block in relationships. And I needed that this morning.
Thank you for sharing that one. Ashley, that seek first, understand. It's an amazing exercise. I've tried to make it more and more of my habit. I don't do it as often as I would like to, but I'm doing it a lot more than I used to, which is this, to your point, Ashley. When you're having a conversation with someone, ask them, what I hear you saying is, and then see if you could describe what you think you hear them saying. If you haven't done it a lot, folks, you will be shocked at how many times you're completely wrong.
Yes, I started doing that too, because I was talking to someone who did that, and I felt like they were playing therapy on me. And then I was like, but I kind of like it, and I'm feeling a bit validated. So
yes.
And then I end with, I'm genuinely curious. How does that make you feel? And I'm genuinely curious how they feel about something. And then when they tell me how they feel about it, I'm like, okay, I think I actually misunderstood the context of what they were saying originally, because it made me feel something different. But when I asked how they felt, I was like, oh, okay, I understood what they were saying on a different level.
Okay, we're going to riff here because that's what the show does. And first of all, we got a comment here for The Art of Listening, the Mirroring of the Soul. I'm assuming that's a book, Layla. I'm going to assume that's a book related to what we're talking about. Auntie Joan always has great wisdom. Leaps of faith put us in astounding new places. Excellent. Leaps of faith put us in astounding new places. Ashley, I was going to say that I read one book that I've read, which has literally changed my life radically. There's a concept called nonviolent communication. Michael Rosenberg, I believe, is the author. Looked it up on Amazon, nonviolent communication. It talks about very, very specific techniques in communicating with people and understanding where people are coming from. And it uses this, not just this listening thing, but the feeling and the needs thing. I don't want to go into details, but it really, really, really great. Really great. It takes this seek first to understand and turns it into literally a science. So there's a big one there. Pam, thank you, Pam. Mahalo from Denver. Welcome, Pam. Thank you for coming back. I remember you from before. When there is compassion, there is no judgment. Where there is judgment, there is no compassion. Live in compassion. Excellent, 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 excellent. Great. Thank you, Pam, for contributing that. Barbara, with prayers, and may God keep one and all in his care. May we remember to care for one another. Indeed, Barbara, it would be, let's remember to care for one another. Heidi, I love your quote. What does it mean? I want to definitely know what it means to you within context today.
Well, change is the only constant in life. It's just a good thing to remember that, I mean, one of the most difficult things for people in general is change. And when something so tragic like a fire happens, I mean, you're forced to change. And when it comes to rebuilding Lahaina, I mean, it's sad that you just know things are never going to be how they were before. I mean, I know I'm never going to be able to walk down Front Street. It's never going to look the same. My sincere hope and wish is that the beautiful culture, the rich history, all that is honored and something beautiful is created in the future. And that's my sincere hope and wish, but I know it's never going to be exactly the same. So have to realize that change is the only constant in life.
It's going to change. It's going to change. You know, it's interesting. I wonder what the how much did there was a fire. There was a fire in Lahaina in 1919. I caught an article. I did not read it. That drew a bunch of parallels. I wonder how many of those, how many changes came about. How different was Lahaina after the 1919 fire? Almost a little bit over 100 years ago. But yes, indeed, Heidi, change. And boy, there's going to be some changes, right? There's going to be some changes. And well said prayers there, Heidi, about where we go going forward. I think of beauty. Great. So this used to be, let's see, I think this is Dylan's quote. Did you have one or did you have a chance, or should we skip yours for right? Or Kelley, here, let's do this. Kelley, do you have anything inspirational that you want to share that we may not have a slide for? You could go right ahead. Just kind of share it now.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't prepared for that.
No, it's okay. And my bad on throwing up Dylan's slide instead of yours. Go ahead.
Just going off of the theme of being hopeful, with this Labor Day weekend coming up, for a lot of people, Labor Day weekend is the end of summer and the start of fall and winter. So it's just very hopeful that with this new season, it's going to bring really great things. And we're really hoping, and all of our hearts are out there to Lahaina in their new season ahead.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. Yeah, that's right. It is a Labor Day weekend, so a lot of hopefully we'll spend this time for some contemplative thought. Let me close up with, of course, my if you didn't expect it, now you should know my Proverbs line. I found one that I think is relevant, and this kind of goes back to somewhat things that you said, Heidi. Many are the plans in one's mind, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will be established. And I truly hope this is the way forth for Lahaina. In other words, we got all kinds of plans, but there are divine forces. There are divine forces at work, God's forces at work that will establish those plans. And I pray that is what gets fully. The Lord's plans are what get brought out for Lahaina and for Lahaina's future. In other words, I truly pray for a divine guidance from above for Lahaina's future. I truly hope that's the case. All right, gang. Well, look, thanks, Heidi. Really appreciate you being here to kind of share. I know it's difficult, and we really appreciate you being here. It's really, I think everyone else appreciates it as well, that you're able to share and tell us kind of what's going on. It's really a blessing for all of us. Kelley, I'm really glad that you made it substituting for Dylan. Great job of substitution. Awesome job of substitution. And Ashley, I'm really, of course, glad that you're here as well, representing the island of Oahu. Why don't we say goodbye? Let's do it in a clockwise manner. Let's go Kelley, then Heidi, and then Ashley. Say goodbye.
Aloha. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Oh, Heidi, unmute.
Aloha. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, everyone. Have a blessed weekend.
Have a wonderful, enjoy the Labor Day weekend as we go into our last, I think we'll see. We'll see in 2 weeks. I think summer's almost over. All right. Y'all take care. Have a great weekend. Aloha.
Aloha.